Welcome back in. Trey Lowell here with Lowell Productions. In today's video, rather than discussing cameras, we're going to spend some time up in Final Cut 10 going through a little tutorial in regards to workflow, color grading, sound design, all of that smashed into one. I recently got just a fun little opportunity. My brother-in-law was over at my house doing some pressure washing, so rather than standing around, I decided to get the Panasonic S5 out and my drone, do a little filming, and here are some of the results. All right, so now that you guys have gotten an opportunity to see the final result, let's hop up into Final Cut and let's discuss this quick kind of workflow here, overall template. We'll do some color grading and then we'll also talk about sound design. So to start off with the color grade, you guys can see up here at the very top, we have our adjustment layer and I have labeled it LUT plus grain plus etc. Now, if we click on that adjustment layer and we're gonna come up to the top right here, clicking on that, and we're gonna go to our effects. Now in our effects tabs, you guys can see over to the right here that we have a color wheel, hue and saturation curve, film grain, and we have a LUT. So I'm gonna start with the LUT first. This is just going to be used pretty much just to give every shot some kind of a similarity in regards to like color tones, things of that nature. So as we scroll down here, using MLUT is what I use. You guys might use something different. I have used my Walkman LUT, and you can see intensity wise, I have it at 30%. I think the secret to using LUTs, it's not really even a secret, but just a kind of like guideline would be, don't crank your LUT all the way up. I mean, I can here, and you guys can see what it just did to the shot, but it's a little over the top. It's too stylized, it looks fake. So we bring it down to 30%, and if I deactivate it, you can see, I mean, it does a little bit to the colors. It makes them pop a little bit more. It does some different tones with the browns and things of that nature. So that's the first thing we have on there is our LUT. And then we have some film grain. And film grain is pretty much, most of you will probably not even be able to notice it unless we zoomed in drastically. I use realistic compared to iMovie grain, and I use it pretty low, probably 25% and below. But it's really just to de-digitize some of these shots coming out of some of these cameras. Sometimes they're too sharp, and yeah, it just gives a little bit more character. Hue and saturation curve. Let's see, I don't know if this is a good shot. Let's find a shot like maybe here, where if I deactivate it, you can see in the clouds. So I did some hue and saturation, and I'll open this up here for you guys. And I'll show you, it's basically, I did the eyedropper and I chose some blues, and I'm just trying to make those pop a little bit more. And this is a shot where you can see when it's deactivated, that sky isn't popping as much. So a little bit of hue and saturation curve used, once again, along this whole timeline, so those blues will particularly pop for this video. And then for our color wheel, if we move down here and we go inside here, this is just a generic little saturation boost in our highlights and saturation boost in our shadows, and it's to be added along the whole timeline. So as far as color grading goes, that is our adjustment layer. That is completely over the top of all this. And it's really just to add these particular settings to everything. I find just for workflow wise, rather than Command-C doing copy paste every clip, you can just do an adjustment layer on the top and boom, you have overlying kind of guidelines for all these kind of clips to implement. And then I individually go in and kind of do some color grading with them. Like you could see here, if we come here on this clip, I'll go to color grading. And I've got my video scopes over here. You can see that we've got a little bit of peaking here. You're not wanting to really go below or above 100. And obviously I've got my highlights pretty high. That's because that would probably, to expose it perfectly, it probably needs to be exposed more like that. So there's a little bit of a hint of what I could have done differently here. I cranked those shadows down just a little bit. Really, it's just a stylistic choice to have it where it was at. I wanted that fence to pop, so I'm gonna leave it there. But you guys can see here where I kind of manipulated the highlights. Like if I take this, there's our original shot, and then boom. And a lot of these shots, I purposely underexposed outdoors because there was so much going on exposure wise. I really cranked down my ISO. I also had an ND filter on there. And yeah, I want to even say I was shooting at like f4, f5 just to make sure that my highlights weren't overexposed. So yeah, going in individually doing some color grading on these shots. Like here's a shot of Kevin. Let's see the original. Oh, that's straight out of camera right there. Didn't even do anything. Oh, I'm proud of that. Let's maybe do like one right here. Love this shot. And you guys can see I did some color wheel adjustment. That's what it was, straight out of camera. Added the color wheel. And really we just boosted our highlights. And one thing that's nice about the wheels is you can just keep going. And you guys can kind of see over here to the left that I am clipping those highlights a little bit. But go back to where we were at, which that was our, and you can see this is the after, that's before, and all these colors are just, it's super dark, and that's okay. We just lift it back up. Boom, there we are. All right, so that's just some little color grading. You know, I was not too thrilled with the DJI and how that came out. Once again, a little bit more white balance issues, but you can see that's the original, and then color wheel, we boosted up those highlights, gave it a little bit of vibrancy as far as our highlights go. We gave it some saturation, and then we cranked down those midtones. So if I like, boom, that's what it was, boom, that's where we're at. And it's gonna be your kind of personal preference of what you wanna do with those, but that gives you a little bit of understanding what we have going on with color grading. Adjustment layer on top, and then individually went through and kind of graded some of those. Now, other things, as you can see in the timeline, we've got several scale ins. That's just an adjustment layer. I've labeled it scale in, and honestly, it's just literally going from the shot and slowly zooming in. I think it adds some effect to the video, makes it move a lot quicker, and you can kind of see those are throughout. So the very last thing I want to talk about is sound design, and real quickly, we're gonna actually play this video with no music. All we're gonna do is sound design, and I'm gonna let you guys kind of get a feel for what it would sound like. And I purposely left a lot of audio in here and added audio and things of that nature because I really thought that it helped. And this is just a little bit of a pointer to many of you guys out there. If you can capture real life audio, it can really come in handy in post-production because a lot of these noises, audio, is actually underlaid under the clip that's actually being played. So I'm using audio from something different on a different clip. So that gives you guys an opportunity to hear what it sounds like with no audio track, just sound design. And I just bring that up just to say sound design is super key. It can add to your video, and spending that extra time adding a forest background noise, making sure if your slow-mo track, maybe you could add some sound design that you recorded in 24 frames per second with true audio. You could somehow underlay it, maybe pull it back quite a bit to add some more dramatic effect. But, you know, overall, I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight into, you know, just seeing my timeline, getting a gist of like some things that you can do. Much of this was cut to the music. It was very quick pace. And, you know, it was more like I wanted to start it out showing you a few things, tighter shots, and then enter the whole process of pressure washing. And it was a fun, unplanned video, and that's kind of a behind the scenes look in regards to the editing process. Now, I'd probably say it took maybe a grand total of like maybe 8 or 9 hours editing, just being a little nitpicky, doing some of the color grading, trying to match the different cameras. But yeah, I had fun doing it. My brother-in-law was super happy, and it gives you a little bit of a gist of like, practice with these kind of projects so that when the time comes that someone approaches you or you hear that someone might need a video like this, you know, a quick 30 or 60 second, you know, maybe social media type video, you have something in your portfolio that you can show them. Even if it's not the exact same business or niche, you just have a product that you could say, look, I can take something, I can film you doing X, Y, and Z, and we can turn it into a quick little fun video that we can use for marketing. So that's a little bit of an insight into something that I did. Like I said, I didn't want to be lazy. I wanted to be a part of what my brother-in-law was doing. So you guys got to see the final product. But it's Trey Lowell with Lowell Productions. And as always, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like the content I keep creating on this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I hope you enjoy this quick little kind of glance into the setup of this current place where we're filming, if that makes any sense.